We're joined now by CNET editor Dan Ackerman. Hey, Dan.
Hey, guys.
So explain what the FBI is specifically asking Apple to create here.
All right, what the FBI is asking for, they're saying we have a phone, it's got a passcode on it, we can't get into it. And Apple, of course, says, well, we don't have, a list of these passcodes, we can't just give it to you. So the FBI is saying you need Apple to create a specialized version of iOS that we can force load onto this phone that will then enable us to essentially hack into it by trying different passcodes an unlimited number of times without locking or erasing the phone in order to get into it. And of course, Apple says we not only don't have that technology, we're not even sure we could create it, and if we could, we don't want to.
So is that the same or different than this iPhone backdoor that we've been hearing about?
That is a version of an iPhone backdoor, to be sure. And the concern is once you create this backdoor, which Apple says does not currently exist. So once you create it once, the company is obviously concerned that the government will ask for it multiple times. And then on top of that, once it exists, other governments, let's say the Chinese government, will ask for it all the time also, just as a prerequisite of Apple doing business in that country.
So, Dan, I guess on one hand, for people who ever wondered if once your phone is erased, if you put the password in too many times, that it's gone forever. It's a good thing. We know that if you ever need to do that. On the other hand, is there a way that a possible compromise can be reached? Some way that Apple can do something that would allow the FBI access to the phone, but without infringing on other people's privacy?
I mean, that is very difficult because once you figure out a way to do it for this phone, obviously the government can come back next week and say, well, we have 10 other phones we need to get into also, so you should just do the same thing for those. Now, to be fair, the government has a compelling interest in getting into this phone and probably many other phones, and if Apple had a list of passwords or a simple way to get in, they would be compelled to turn that over. Their argument is that we do not have that technology. Some tech companies have very deliberately tied their own hands to avoid this conflict of interest, and they're saying they should not be compelled to create a new product that breaks their existing products.
And Tim Cook isn't just concerned about governments coming and knocking on Apple's door. It's also the fact that once there's any sort of door that can be pried open, there's always people out there looking to take advantage of that.
Yeah, once that genie is out of the bottle, I mean, you can rest fairly, sure that that is pretty much it. Look what a good job the government has done at keeping its own personnel record safe. How many millions of government employees have had very personal information, stolen right off of government computers? You certainly can't expect anyone to trust, an Apple backdoor in government hands.
Dan, I mean, so we're talking about this in the realm of technology, but I think if you just say to somebody, look, if you had an incriminating document and you tore it up and you flushed it down the toilet, that's it. The FBI doesn't have that to go on. They can't ask the sewer system or the utilities company to dredge. Maybe they could.
Maybe they could.
But the reality is, but my point is that once it's gone, and that they should, because the idea of infringing on this one telephone, as you pointed out, Dan, you could do it for the next person, and it could be whatever. We were talking about reporters. They could say, look, we don't like what this reporter is saying. We need to get into the phone. We don't know who they're talking to, who their sources are within ISIS. We need to know who that is. Help us create that back door.
Yeah, and the frustrating part is, and I totally understand this frustration, that data is not gone. It's on that phone. It's locked up. But unless you know that passcode, Apple has deliberately created a system where even they can't get in to kind of, stop them from even being tempted to ever break into their own products.
Dan Ackerman, thanks a lot.
Thank you.